Welcome to Only One You Need Radio. We're not the only one you need. You are. We just show you how to get out of your own way. With your host, speaker, author, business coach, and consultant, David Dubé.
Welcome to Only One You Need Radio. It's your host, David Dubé. Super excited to have you here with me today. In this episode, we are completing and rounding out our conversation on communication hurdles and how to resolve them. In this specific episode, my friend, you and I are going to be chatting about the things that I didn't get in the last 9 episodes when dealing with communication hurdles, and also kind of going over what we covered in all the other ones. Now, I'm not going to go nearly as deep. I'm just going to touch on them, and hopefully you'll go back and listen to them as well to really get full and complete perspective in regards to using these communication methods to resolve any hurdles that you might be facing or dealing with in your communications with, whether it's a significant other, a partner, a coworker, or it's a group of individuals, it's a group of people you're dealing with. And in earlier episodes, I talked about this in context to speaking in groups, like as if countries were to come together and negotiate and things like that. All of this stuff is vitally important to making sure we get to where we want and find resolution. Now, the idea behind all this is to find win-win solutions. And the reason is, and you might think, well, I want to win and I don't necessarily want them to come out with anything or come out ahead. There's a reason why you want them to leave or exit the communication better than they came in. And the reason is because if they don't, they might be envious, they might be still angry, they might be resentful, which can manifest itself into other areas, right? It can come back to haunt you if they don't leave the communication better than how they arrived. And that's not good for you. It's not good for other people. Just frankly, it's not good. The other thing is when they're happy, you might not think you're happy, but ultimately in them being happy, there's an easiness that comes into you. So even though what they were looking for was resolved and maybe you feel like yours wasn't, you still won. You still got something out of it. And that's worth something. But ultimately, going after win-win is the ultimate solution. Now, sometimes neither people win, but agreeing to disagree is okay as well, as long as you're not leaving it in hurt, disarray, or hate. And sometimes it's an impossibility, but there's no reason that one should hate, period. We can talk about that another time, but sometimes you go in so angry that it's hard to come out with, even though things are better, you still feel hurt. So sometimes it's difficult to come out of these situations with what you would consider a viable solution and be happy with it. I get that. It can be really difficult. But like I said in last episode, you can't get there from there. If you're in the box, you can't get to the solution in the box. You have to remove yourself from the box. You have to look at it from a different point of view, from a different angle. And sometimes dropping the emotional baggage that's attached to it is the only way to get there. And that is difficult for so many of us to do. It's difficult I'm not going to say it's not difficult for me. It's been difficult for me to do that. I get it. I can't tell you how many times I got in a room with my mom, knowing that if she only heeded the warnings that I gave her, she would still be here today. If she only listened to the recommendations I gave her years ago, she would still be with us today. I know it. To me, there's no question about it. But she didn't. She had to lead her life the way she wanted to. I couldn't change her. No matter how much I wanted to, I couldn't make her decisions for her. And she was so attached to the things that she hated that inevitably did her in. I don't want that for you. You deserve better than that. The people that you don't even like deserve better than that. I don't wish it on anyone. So sometimes being able to say, you know what, maybe I'm just going about this wrong, and being okay with learning something new or hearing something that you've never accepted before from someone whom you would never, ever talk to ever or want to understand. You tried. And maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. Maybe you heard them and you're still like, this doesn't, no, it's a no for me. But you're in a better place now. If we can remove the emotional attachments to certain things that we believe so strongly in, sometimes we come to new understandings because of that. And it can be extremely transformative and very powerful in our lives. You have to want it and you have to allow it. I'm just sharing what's worked for me and what I've seen not work for people and myself. We want win-win solutions here. I want what's best for you. And for me, especially in what I do, if you're happy, guess what? I'm happy. I may not got what I wanted, but you're happy. And that leaves me better than I did coming into it. It's probably not happy. So another thing is to be aware, right? Be aware of the communication process. Be aware of the signals that they're putting out. Be aware of the signals you're putting out. Be cognizant of how you're sitting and how you're acting with other individuals that you want to come to some sort of understanding with. You want them to understand you. You have to be willing to understand them. A big part of that is eye contact. This is crazy to think too, because too little eye contact, people are going to think you're lying to them, that you're evading them, that you're avoiding them. Now, some people they grew up not being able to make eye contact with people because they've always felt inferior to them. Even though they might have had the answer in them, they're too afraid to stick up for themselves. You have to be aware of these things. Sometimes they are lying and they're not telling the truth. So be aware of their background, or at least to some extent where you could know if them not looking at you is because A, they're lying, or B, they're just always shy. They've always felt trampled over their entire lives. So to give you that eye contact. Now, mind you, culturally too, this is huge. Some cultures, you can't look someone in the eye. Unless you're in a relationship with them, you can't, they will not make eye contact with you, which also means it's not good for you to make eye contact with them. That's cultural based. Now, that's a totally different subject, which I also teach, but I'm not going to talk more about that here. I just want you to be aware of that. So culturally, you got to be aware of these things as well. And then you go to the other side, the other spectrum, too much eye contact. Geez, that's crazy. This guy looks freaking crazy. Looks like he wants to murder me. Just because he hasn't looked away. It has nothing to do with maybe he's trying to overpower me. Maybe it's a power play. I don't know, right? So too much eye contact can be a little too, so don't do, there's an in-between ground. Find it, keep it, and use it. Don't do too little. Don't do too much. Just enough. Right? I don't remember. It's the Bears, right? His chair was too hard. Hers was too soft. The other one was just right. Right? You remember that, the story of the three bears, and I'm so far removed from it, but you understand where I'm getting at. So you got to find the middle ground. Know what your emotional level is going into this. Know what it is that you want. What's the outcome you're looking for? Conversely, what is the outcome they're looking for? What is their emotional set point? Like when you come into it, are they high, are they medium, or are they low? Be empathetic when it comes to listening. You were born with 2 ears, 1 mouth. You should listen twice as much as you speak. Now, obviously, in the case of this podcast, it's a little bit different. We're not necessarily face-to-face interacting, and I already have a subject to talk about. Otherwise, it would be different. Remember, avoid ambiguity. Refine that focus. So when someone brings up old arguments or old subjects, or they try to change the subject, yeah, it's okay. Have them write it down, or you write it down, but come back to what it is you're talking about. No one likes to be preached or lectured to. You don't, so don't do it to other people. Don't do the partial attention thing. Avoid interruptions. And if someone continually interrupts, tell them to write it down, or you write it down. Dealing with explosive and overbearing people, I talked about that. I talked about preaching and lecturing to someone. I talked about ambiguity, vulgar language, and inflammatory language. All those are so vitally important. Be offended less. Attach yourself less emotionally to these things. And watch as your life actually drastically changes so quickly because you've attached less emotional strain to it than you ever needed to before. And once you realize that that's okay to do, life can change so fast and so quickly, and you'll be okay with every aspect of it, or at least a majority of the aspects of it. And you'll be able to flow with it and go with it as opposed to being rigid and hurt by it. And when you do that, not only does this effectively change how you communicate with people, it effectively changes how you understand people because you'll be able to relate to them better because you're less emotionally attached to one side over another. So much greatness can come from that. And when you understand that, when you get that and you start to use and utilize that in all your communication, things will slide off you that used to hold your hand and take you where it wanted you to go. That weight that used to carry around all with you, you know, of Mars and Jupiter and Earth all combined on your back that you used to carry. Now at least you got rid of 2 of the planets. You just got to get rid of the last one. But it'll be easier because you're less attached to it. You care, but you don't care that much. Like, I get that. What the word you used was absolutely ridiculous. You should never use that word to anyone. You're lucky I am who I am. You're lucky I am who I am. But here's the deal. What you're saying, I get it. I get why you're angry. That doesn't mean you should ever say something like that to me or anyone else. What can I do to make it right for you? And in me doing that, make sure you never use those words to me or anyone else. They don't deserve it. No one does. I hope this makes sense to you. That's my intention here, is that this flows for you, that you can use and utilize all these processes of communication and how to remove these hurdles that are in front of you, resolve them so you don't have to deal with BS from anyone ever again. You don't deserve it. No one does. But when you have less emotional attachment to it, it will slide right off your back. You won't hold on to it. It won't bother you. It won't be this, you know, if you ever get a sliver in your hand, it won't be this sliver that you take with you anymore. All those slivers will fall out. They'll have so little meaning. You'll remember them, but they won't hurt you anymore. They don't have to hurt you. None of this has to hurt you anymore. And watch as your life transforms. That's what I want for you. I want your life to be transformative. I want you to be able to live the life that you desire and not let other people take you down because they want to. You're better than that. And when you know that you're better than that, you can also look at them and say, hey, you know what? You are better than using that language. You are better than to pay half attention to this. You are better than to lecture me on this. And you can hold them accountable. You can teach them how to treat you, and conversely, how to treat other people, not just you. Maybe they'll hold themselves in higher regard and have more respect for themselves and not use that kind of language and not do those kind of things when communicating to other people. Why? Because you are whole in your communication. And you can stand your ground because you know what it takes. You're not going to submit to someone else's words because you know that does you no good. It does them no good. It does our world no good. See, I'm not a country guy. I mean, country, I'm like USA, yay, no. Like, great, the 4th of July came and went. Congratulations to the United States. To me, the human race is more important than my what's going on for our country. Countries separate. I live for you. I don't live for our country. I'm in this to help not this country. I'm in this to help this world be better than when I found it. The human race, to me, is more valuable than any country in separation to any other country. I'm doing this because the human race deserves it. No one deserves to be loaded with any kind of BS when it comes to taking advantage of other people. I don't buy it. I don't see it. Doesn't have to happen that way. All these people, I from time to time still get like these voicemails. I saved the last one or I didn't delete it, where it's like, the IRS has issued a warrant for your arrest. No, they did not. You stupid people. Like, the issue there, now, it's stupid. They're stupid for doing it, because if they use their ability for good instead of bad, where could we be? And so that's where I'm going with that. Like, there's so many more constructively positive things that they could come up with to use their authority and their power to get people to give them money in exchange for something positive and good, but instead they use fear tactics. And that's, to me, that's just, it's ridiculousness. It's so stupid. All these people, but you know what? The way our society is structured is that money rules all. But that's not it. That's not the truth. It's not the truth. We allow money to rule. It doesn't rule. And it's only for those who do allow it to. I don't. Do you? See, to me, like, that kind of communication could be done so much better. And they could be doing something positive instead of something negative. I believe that that's possible. I don't believe it, actually. I know it's possible. But more people need to be aware of these processes and use these processes themselves. We need to demonstrate these processes, because in your demonstration of the process, other people then can follow that process. Be like, I want to communicate like them. I don't want to be steamrolled by someone using inflammatory language to me. I don't want someone to be explosively angry and overbearing with me and use vulgar language over me as their authority to take advantage of me. By you demonstrating that you can communicate properly and appropriately, you take back your power, you keep your power, and you demonstrate to others that they don't have to do and give in to the BS that gives other people control by using those things to take authority over you, who you are, what you stand for, and all that. You deserve better. But you demonstrating that, you show them that they also deserve better. And that's why I'm doing this. We all deserve better. If you have not already, subscribe. Leave feedback on iTunes. I would love you to rate this channel. Do that right now. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and get notified for every new episode that comes out so you get all this information. I'm David Dubé with Only One You Need Radio. It's time that you be the person you're meant to be. Believe in all that you're capable of and become more than you thought imaginable. I look forward to catching you on the next episode.